Welcome back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grumler.
Wolverine.
I say we have the best bearded podcast so far.
Fuck yeah.
I mean,
you know what? I'm going to check this out, dude. So I've been growing. Mine's getting almost Rory McKernan-ish, like Wadapalooza. I think I'm going to go and get it like actually taken care of.
Escaped. I feel like Wadapalooza always has a guy there.
I know.
That does all that.
I know, but I don't know if I want to wait that long.
Risk.
I kind of want to go to my dude, the guy that does my hair. I got a guy. I got a guy. Yeah.
I got a guy.
I don't know if you can really. I don't know if I would really want, and this is not a sexist thing. I don't know if I want a girl to do a beard. Like I need a dude to give me a dude cut.
Okay.
Like it would be kind of like. I mean, you could go the wax version for the ladies. I think that like a woman would know what a woman wants for the shave job rather than a dude that's down there going like, "Oh, I'll give you a shave job." Like, I just don't know if that would work out very well.
So would you know what I mean? Be like, if you were going to go that route, you want a dude to work on your beard, but if you want to go the waxing route, you going lady?
Well, I personally am not going to go. I'm not going to get a wax job. I would have my lady wax. That would hurt so bad. I don't know how ladies do it. I mean, strong on you. Thank you very much. From the dude's perspective, appreciate that stuff. But I don't know. It just I'm gonna have my dude do it.
This is not a damn shower curtain, Corey. It is a curtain that just happens to be a pseudo Jackson Pollock painting.
Pseudo.
Well, everyone, welcome to Get With The Programming. We are going to analyze the programming of the Dubai Fitness Championship. Look how easy that was to say right the first time.
Nice job. That was strong work. Yeah.
Just I paid attention a little bit.
Professional.
That was mean. That was rude. We are going to go through this. It was HWPO, Mat Fraser and company that programmed Dubai. It happened over the course of the last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Is this the shortest it's ever been? Or did we have a short one last year too?
I think this was. I think this was the shortest.
Or one time it was 5 days, but I feel like it's always been 4.
Yeah.
I can't remember last year. If only they had a website that updated their information once every 4 years.
I mean, that would be cool.
Like they
got great pictures.
Hard.
Great pictures.
Oh gosh, I mean, yes, right. It's the most picturesque, I would say, event. Probably. I mean, Wadapalooza rivals it just because it's Miami Beach and Bayside and all that other stuff. But like, you can't beat the backdrop of downtown Dubai. You just
Wadapalooza rivals on the people, like the festival element of that. I
think
hordes of people coming in, and it's cool.
Unrivaled.
It is very cool. It is very cool. Like I love the night light, the night show and the laser lights when they're doing it, but like you can't. I just don't think you can compare that to what Dubai has as far as what they can show and what they can do. I mean, no matter what the stream looks like or whatever issues happen on this, like when you go there, you get to do things that you will never be able to do anywhere else in the world at any other time. Yeah. Tallest building in the world, indoor, ski hills that you got to run up, running in the Arabian desert. I mean, just like all you want to do is sing like, Arabian Nights the entire time that you're running. Like you can just do so many cool things you can't do anywhere else. So, it's just fun to watch.
How many times have you done Dubai? 4?
I think I did 4.
I feel like we did 3
4 or 5. Yeah.
And then I know you did one before me. I wasn't sure if it was 1 year or 2 years before me. So I think I did 17, 18, 19.
Yeah, I think I did. I did the year. I did the year with Brandon. I think I did one before that.
Really?
I think so. I think I did like. I feel like I did 5. I can't remember. But every single time that I went, and I mean, it was really fun when me and you went because we always had one special thing we would
Yes.
always do.
Yes.
You know, like the IndyCar racing or the skiing that we would do, or I mean, we always found something.
Zip
The
line.
zip lining, that was crazy. That
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 was
was crazy.
and that's really Dubai, right? So before we even get into the programming, talk about what Dubai is, what the purpose of the competition. Honestly, I think the purpose has changed a bit over the years. I mean, the competition has changed, the athletes have changed, the caliber of athletes, the purpose of the event itself has changed. And I think when it was first, made, it was really quiet. Like it wasn't very publicized. It was like, oh, there's an event in Dubai, and these people are there. And then it turned into, okay, this is the off-season CrossFit Games in Dubai.
Yeah.
Like you were going to get arguably maybe a more, not I want to say robust in terms of better, but like you got tested in a
Oh, yeah.
big way in Dubai. And that wasn't really in its heyday. It was kind of when we were there, right? 16 or like 16, 17, 18, 19.
Yeah, and even like
Um
the programming had a lot of differences from the first couple years. Like the first couple years, I think the first one was 2012 because this was a
mhm.
10-year. Um,
Wow, it's been around that long.
yeah, like
Just how
I remember like the first time they had like Kenny Leverett, Lindsey Valenzuela,
yeah,
Ryan Fisher. The Shake just was like, I want to have some badasses here and do cool things. And it
right.
wasn't like a competition, it was more just like I mean, it was an idea of trying to showcase
An athlete
fitness in
showcase.
Dubai, but it was like, "Let's see what we can do," and it really grew from that, and then they I mean, obviously, they had some money that was involved, and so that started to draw some characters into the fray,
Mhm.
but, even then, the programming was very different. It wasn't as pure CrossFit-y as it has been,
Yeah.
the last handful of years, and I think that there was a lot of people that were, um, had to jump into the mix to kinda make the event a better event for what it was.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, that they had events where the last event was worth so much that
You
you
mean the
could
money?
well, the money, yeah, but, like, you could be in, like, 10th place,
Oh, yeah, they would
and
have, like,
you
a
win the last event, and all of a sudden
$270
you win everything,
Yeah.
because it was like all the other events were, 50 points or 100 points, and the last one was, like, 400 points for this one. You're like, "Holy shit." I'm
Mm.
like, "You guys." And I remember there was a year when we I mean, it's really you can't tell the leader of a country or the son of the prince of the leader of a country,
Mhm.
what to do or not to do, but we were trying to I mean, myself, Kiki Dixon was there. She was doing the MC and stuff.
Oh,
We're
that's right.
trying to like tell them like, hey, for the show. I mean, and like we had got to be, and we were doing the games, and we were doing a lot of the other things right at that point. So we got to kind of say, hey, okay, you're going to have the finals in the biggest mall in the world. You're going to have 4
Mhm.
stories of people watching this. You want to make it so that like everyone knows what's going on. You can't have a
Oh,
30-minute all
yeah.
these different things, and it's just this convoluted deal. And so they were able and willing to make adjustments on the fly, which made it, strong
Mhm.
competitions for them. And it's like the programming has gotten better and better every year. Phil Hesketh, I know, was doing some programming
Oh, that's
the
right.
last handful of years. And then, like, I mean, the royalty there always loved having Matt come in. I mean, they had Rich do the programming the one year,
Mhm.
um, because the royalty really liked Rich and brought his family over and had them stay over in the big sailboat,
Oh, the
building.
hotel. Yeah, yeah. What was that? Was that
Uh,
2019? The first year? I feel like it
yes.
was, because they
Yeah.
had teams too.
Yeah. So that was really interesting having that, and then then you make that shift to where you have Matt and the WPO guys come in and do that. So they've had a lot of change, um, for the better. Even though it went from CrossFit sanctioned stuff to they've pulled away and they're kind of doing their own thing. But I think the draw of I mean, again, a lot of these athletes they need to make sure that they have money to continue to travel and compete and all the different sponsors and whatever. So it's always going to be a draw. And just the pure fact of some of the cool things you get to do will be a very cool draw. I think they set it up so that every single athlete that goes wins something.
Yeah, I think at the minimum it's 500.
Yeah. So I mean,
might have been more in the past. And
I know the last handful of, at least the last 2 years, it was everyone got at least 1,000. So I mean, it would come close to covering, your travel to get out there, which is cool for some.
Yeah, when a couple things to look at is they even have on their website is our mission is to provide the excitement and challenge sought by athletes and spectators both nationally and internationally in the heart of the world's favorite city. Our vision is to create a world-class experience for both the athlete and the spectator, unlike anything else in sports, which you can tell that's a big driving force.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Even outside the
all
program.
about the showcase.
Yeah, and they're very upfront about that, and people know that coming in is that when you go to Dubai, you're gonna get something that's very quote unquote Dubai.
Yeah.
As you said, running in the Arabian desert on like the prince's land, right?
Yeah.
Just to get into that place was this multi-million-dollar sporting complex where we're gonna do this track event or something like that. We're gonna, as I said, we're gonna swim and do things on the beach in front of us. I think it's a 7-star hotel, and it only goes to 5, and then they like skip 6 or something like that. All these types of things running in the Arabian desert. I mean, they've done that before. They did it in different ways, but that is a center focal point of the Dubai Fitness Championship is to also bring attention to Dubai itself.
Right.
And showcase their landscapes, their architecture, their histories, their traditions. That is all part of this event. At the same time, creating something that is unique only to Dubai, whether it's athlete experience, the number of events, the type of events they do. I mean, they've created certain movements, or at least were the first ones to program them in competition that are still being used today. You heard on the broadcast a lot, the Devil's Press was really showcased for the first time in Dubai, and I think it was one of the earlier ones too, like one of the very first ones.
Yeah, and it is. That's one of the tightrope issues that happen, that has happened, I guess, for the most part in the Dubai competition, is they have the backdrop, but because they want to showcase, they want to showcase so badly, sometimes. What's up, Brian friend?
What's up, Brian friend? Good job, buddy.
Good job, for sure.
Good job.
But because they want to showcase so bad that they sometimes fall to the side of, okay, are we getting gimmicky with this? What is this? Is it too much just for the sake of it being too much? Is it, too much of the, all right, you guys are the best athletes, so go out and do something special. Like, let me see something crazy. You know what I mean? And that's fine. I mean, I get it. And these athletes can, even though we may not know all of the names, they're all so good in what they do. I mean, compared to the general field of CrossFitters that are out there. So they can do some really, crazy things. But at the same time, it's like they're athletes and they are not in their prime. They have not prepped. Mm-hmm. This is not the peak of their season, for most. So it's tough to come in there and get smashed. And that's one of the issues with the off-season programs. I know Granite Games used to have that issue way back in the day. People come out of that and just be like, dude, that was worse than the games,
Yeah.
And I think that's starting to show the maturity of some of programming in general. Mm-hmm. That it's finally getting to the point where people are understanding, all right, yes, we want to showcase. Yes, we want to do something cool. Yes, we now have to know the time of the season that we're in. Are we trying to break people? Are we trying to put on a good race? Are we trying to show some excitement? So I think that those are the things that are finally, people are starting to finally realize. Like, mm-hmm. They're hearing enough people say what things should look like for the broadcast, for whatever, so that they can get a good test and get the races that you want, get the excitement that you want. Because there's nothing worse than a boring race, even if it's a good test. But if it's a boring race and everyone's like, okay, this is really stupid, man. Like, come on. So it's good to see that there have been a lot of adjustments. But, with that being said, the underlying issue is, okay, what are we programming for? What are we trying to get these guys to do? Is it just entertainment? Is it a program that's going to be worthy of $50,000 or whatever the number is, or
Yeah.
doesn't matter, whether it's 50,000 or 1,000. So I don't know.
Before we get into the first event, and I can't wait to get in the first event, by the way, there was a time where these competitions were trying to get recognition through how hard their tests were.
Yeah,
This is
right.
tougher than the CrossFit Games, or this is on par with the CrossFit Games, and they would try to be on par with the CrossFit Games, and the only way they knew how to do that, because they were not very well seasoned event competition programmers, like, well, if I make it harder than the CrossFit Games, then we are in line with the CrossFit Games. And that's not the case, right? That's not what it is, and I think we're slowly getting back towards good overall programming, because it's not about, okay, how do we match up with the CrossFit Games? Like, well, they all thought it was like more harder and more volume.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have to create a well-balanced, good test that the layman fan can understand. You can be excited by what you see, even if you don't know what's happening, and you don't destroy the athletes in the process. And I feel like kind of through like that 17, 18, 19 era of off-season competitions, we would see people just like trying to out-program each other.
Oh,
like
that's totally what it was.
Competition of event programming.
Yeah, and it was definitely that. And the athletes, I mean, what's great is they just didn't care. They were like, I'm going there, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do this.
Well, yeah, they throw out $100,000. Like, yeah, I'll sacrifice maybe the beginning part of my season for that.
Right. Totally. Like, if I can do well in here, then I won't have to go to these next 3 events. So I'm going to go break myself off. And I mean, they put you on the chopping block. I mean, like, some of the stuff they had to do was like, oh, damn, like, you're not fucking around with this anymore. But still, you like that?
Oh, that is a nice hoodie you got there.
I do like this one. I like the hood a lot. It's really cool.
And the thing I try to encourage events and other programmers that are doing these off-season events is, for the love of God, please stop trying to be like the CrossFit Games. You are missing the most fun part about being a programmer. Stop trying to be someone else. We already have the CrossFit Games. We have a 6-month season of the CrossFit Games.
Right.
We don't need another one. You got opens, quarters, semis, and CrossFit Games. We're good. Go be your event in your own way, in your own niche. Make sure it's good, it's well balanced and things, but stop trying to be someone else and just be yourself. And I think Dubai has started to turn more towards that, right? They'd have their showcase event, but they were still trying to be like, we're on par with, or we're harder than. So that makes us equal or one of the same. As like, now you can see they're starting to trend more very Dubai centric. And, with that being said, is event number 1, the Burj Khalifa stair climb race. I'm just going to say this right off the bat. I think this is my favorite Dubai event ever programmed. For what they want their event to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this event encompasses everything about our mission and vision about what they want the Dubai Fitness Championship to be. And this was it. And it's so simple, but it's almost perfect. Well,
okay, you had the big sale, and I'm going to mess that name up of that.
Al Arab?
Yeah. So that one, it was
damn videos we'd have to make. They're like, no, you're wrong again. I'm like, damn it.
I know. That one was great because you could see it in the background. The indoor ski slope was great because it's like, where else are you going to see that? But when you actually get to have the competition in the biggest building in the world and you get to run to the top.
Yeah.
Like, that is something that, I mean, literally less than 50 people have done now. The athletes, and then like the handful of the Sheikh and a couple other people. Like, that's it. That is a bucket list deal event for sure. You're right. It encompasses everything. It showcases Dubai, showcases fitness. Then they could have had some more cameras in there. It was tough to shoot, but a very, very, very effective race. Extremely simple, but showcased fitness. It was awesome.
It was so awesome. Like there isn't you couldn't have picked anything better to do what they herald themselves as. We want to showcase our country, our landmarks, display our culture, get people really interested in it. And for us, it's that we've had the pleasure to go there,
right,
to this. I mean,
I mean, look at that thing. What's crazy is all those buildings, and that's what's so funny. The view that you get from the top, all those other buildings are like 50-story. They're skyscrapers, and they look like tiny 2-story condominiums when you're in that thing. Like it just doesn't give it justice when you look at it. And it doesn't even give it justice when you're standing up in it. Like your depth perception is so screwed off. It's so messed up.
Yeah.
Because you're so high. It's absolutely amazing. But I think that the fact that they could do that, the fact that they go, hey, can we race in that?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was offered, whether that was one that Matt picked, or that was something that
I think that came down for the top. Like
if that came down from the top, dude, awesome.
Muhammad.
Yeah. If that came from those guys, then like, hell yeah, you guys made a perfect pick. Perfect pick. And to start off that way.
Sure.
I only wish for them that they could have had. You have 160 flights. You could have had some other cameras in there, whether they were
I don't think
iPhones or not.
No, I don't think they could legally, like traditionally, do that. I don't think it was allowed. Is what I heard.
I mean,
yeah, I would have loved to have seen this. Are you kidding me? It would have been amazing to watch. Like, but I legit, it wasn't like, oh, we don't have the capacity to. It's like we are not allowed to.
Right
now, I don't know how much we got to use our phones until we got to the top. Remember, we had to be sequestered in that room, just kind of like waiting to get on the elevator. I think it's a big cultural thing too.
Very possible. Now, with that being said, I don't want to say that the way that it's the way it was broadcasted or shown affects the programming of the event. That may have affected our perspective, like of the people watching. But
I would just love to see that.
I mean, thank God Brian was there and was actually on, like, because I mean, I hopped on with Sevon, which was really funny. I hopped into that thread late. I didn't realize that the event was going on and he was looking for someone to hop on to call it with him. So I didn't have any information. I'm just like, hey man,
I'm in bed, bro. And I threw
what's going on, man? I know. I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, okay, and there's so and so. We're gonna go. I'm like, oh, I'm in now. Okay, all right. But it was great that Brian was there, and so we could hear his shortcuts because all we had was who's taking off and who's finishing. Like that was literally it. And half the time you couldn't even really see the names very well, so it was really hard. But God, it was a cool event. I would have loved the athletes that were there, the people that were there. They lucked out. That would have been super cool to be part of.
And, and as far as the event went, if you wanted to play like armchair quarterback, and Brian says this championship program event 1 and event 8. So Matt got to tinker with the middle in between there. This is more of like a how cool if. Right now, what they had athletes start about every 2 minutes in the stairwell, and they were pretty much isolated on their own. Some people got caught, rarely did they, and you were just there with no music, no people, just you and your thoughts for 160 flights of stairs, which I love. I love, right? And I know some people's like, oh, I wish it was a mass start and let them race up. But I was like, okay, there's a lot of logistical problems when it comes with that. But if you wanted to be like, how cool if is that, we showed a picture of what the outside looked like. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, this top right, see like there's the mall there. It's basically like a giant food court in the middle with this water in between. And there's a huge water show that happens. What is it, like every hour? Kind of like you see what the Bellagio in Vegas.
Yeah, that's the Vegas is like the tiny little brother version of.
Yeah. But how cool would it have been if they were like, okay, we're going to do a 400 or 800 separator lap around the water, and then you're just running straight towards the Burj Khalifa, and that's that's your separator. Can you imagine what that would like? You're running through the crowds out there, and then as you take this turn, maybe it's just a 200-meter finisher straight towards it, and as you're running up, just being like, oh my God, I have to run up this building. Right? I'm taking nothing. I'm like programming out the door. I'm just like, how cool if How cool is
Right.
is you're just running around that whole outdoor courtyard, and people are there that maybe they time it so the fountains are shooting up, and it's just a straight shot of the stairwell as this like shadow of a 160-story building towers over you as you're about to tackle this freaking beast.
I do like the idea. I liked what they did as far as like separating everybody. So everybody went off in a 2-minute shot, and so there was. I mean, they said that there were some people that didn't see anybody for the entire race, the
Talk about a
entire
mind
30
fuck.
minutes. I mean, yeah, seriously, that is that is so crazy. But if you do a mass start where you have them do something, whether it's you run around the fountains or you have them do something, I think it would be great because then they would really be pushing to want to get into the front of the stairwell.
Mhm.
And then you have people on you the whole time. Like we saw people, I mean, we saw Dukic up at the top when he just collapsed.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I think it was the ankle thing because he was running different, but I mean his body, like, he imploded.
No, Brian said,
Um,
like, there was something not right
yeah,
there.
I mean
Like,
they had the medic unit there.
Yeah.
But and that was him being able to pace what was going on.
Mhm.
If you aren't able to pace and you're trying to race up to the front, now you gotta deal with people in front of you, people behind you.
Yeah.
How far are you gonna push so you can get up in the lead? Being, the jockeying inside, trying to, I mean, just the talking you can do, the shit talking you can do, and the
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh, man, it's so tired." You're like, "That's right, it's so tired, you better hear that. Hear me say that it's so tired so I can pass you up.
Yeah.
You're breathing so hard on my back. What do you," like that. I just think that would have been really fun to
Yeah.
see.
It's just great. I mean, what a cool, long, unique test of just saying, I was like, "Okay, where's your fitness at? Where's your mental fortitude at?
Yeah.
Right? Where's your like emotional spirit at? Running up a stairwell for 30 plus minutes." I thought it
Yeah.
was great. What a great
It's
way to
awesome.
start. What a great way to
Awesome.
start. The one thing I'll shout out to is I think we got sent kind of a mashed up leaderboard between the men and the women's times, and I think in the top 15 there are more women in the top 15 than men, if
Yeah.
right off the top of my head, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Just shows, I mean, but we see that. We see at an event when the CrossFit Games, it is a mixed bag of athletes out there winning everything.
Hey, what do you think? And we talked about this on our thread, but just to throw it out there for everyone. So they had to wear a vest.
Mhm.
Needed or not needed?
If the question is needed or not needed, not needed. Let them go.
Yeah.
Let them go. Is it bad that they have it?
No,
No,
exactly.
not at all, right? But if you just want to like, hey, let's race up. I mean, part of it too is like, let's just set a world record with 2 CrossFitters.
Yeah.
Not by default either.
Right.
I think Jamie Simmons is like the fastest female ever up the steps, but needed, not needed, not needed. Let the horses run, man.
Right. I think that traditionally we have this. If we're gonna run, like, that's all we do. If there's any run nowadays, it's like, "Oh, put a ruck on," or "You gotta have a vest on." It's like everything is Murph. I don't think this one needed it because of the distance that was happening. I mean, I know that they had the vest actually when they did the snow hill run. When they did that, they had a vest on that, so maybe that's what they were thinking. They had the vest when they ran in the desert, so maybe that's just
right.
Yeah.
It's a big Dubai thing.
Yeah.
Did it take away from the event or change anything? No.
I honestly no. It wasn't heavy enough to really make that big of a difference. I mean, yeah, they felt it for sure, but I would have loved to see them just open the throttle on that and go.
Yeah, it would have been cool. All right. That's event number 1.
Man, you OCD'd right there really hard.
I did, but I just
While
really
you were
wanted
multitasking. You just blasted Janelle.
Oh, because well, hey, listen, don't spell CrossFit with a lowercase f.
I
You
think
guys
that's so
do that.
funny.
You can talk shit to me all you want, but you better fucking spell that word correctly. Oh, all right. Let's move to event number 2. So this was really day number 1. So day number 1 was the Burj Khalifa. Day number 2, zoom in here a little bit when you get this, the hang clean ladder to kick things off. Now, I was talking to Savan about this as far as where to place these things because we were a little unsure as how the athletes would handle the fatigue and how that would look. And really, I like that they put it here to start off the second day, because are they super fresh? Meh. I mean, they can handle this volume, but it's a different test, right? Climbing stairs is a lot different than running sand dunes.
Right.
But I like that they put this here, because this might have actually helped some of their recovery a little bit. You're talking about just like just a leg pump flash,
Right.
going into the rest of the weekend. What do you think about putting it here as event number 2?
No, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of this event. I mean, we've talked about
Just
ladders.
placing wise, right?
Yeah,
Not
no,
strength test itself.
totally. So I'm like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the event itself, but I
Mhm.
like, if you're gonna have it like this, I like it where it is, because you're
Okay.
exactly right. It's not high volume. These athletes can handle, even if they're gonna go max load for just a handful of reps. Like, I mean, they train at such high volume anyway with
Mhm.
heavy weight. So this, yeah, they get to go heavy, but that's not, even if they get shot. I mean, we saw a lot of athletes, they went for that heavy squat and they just get shot out the back. Um, that didn't do any damage to them, really. It
Yeah.
didn't hurt them. So,
No.
they were fine. And I
Yeah.
think it was great. It was a good time to put that in. Yeah. I mean, that way you can kind of get into the meat of the CrossFitty stuff after you get through with these
Yeah,
things.
look, we went 30 plus. Now we go hang clean for a max.
Right.
8 events, a 1 rep max, only 20 people. So that does offset a little bit, I think. If this was a field of 60, throwing in an absolute strength test in there, we've had our opinions on that, and we always preface it with opinion. The hang clean was unique. I haven't seen that. I didn't hate the hang clean itself. I did like the quick timing element of, you got 20 seconds in 1 attempt.
Yeah.
And I think that was good from a pressure standpoint, and another one from a safety standpoint, because cleans, it's like everyone always focuses like snatches and people's shoulders and elbows. It's like, have you seen someone clean something and not get their elbows around and break a wrist or a forearm or their hands? I mean, remember Becca Voigt a couple years ago? She like broke both of her hands.
Yeah.
From a clean. And I think I like the format, is it being a tight timetable when it comes to that. I think the question comes in is like, okay, like what do we do with a tiebreaker? Because the tiebreaker was just, I can't think, it was just kind of like set up for failure with the way it was designed. I don't have any problem with tiebreakers, but we have to find a better solution for the tiebreakers. What do you think?
Um,
And I don't
if
even
you're
know
gonna make it the way that it was set up,
Mhm.
then you need to make sure that the athletes understand that they're gonna get judged correctly when they do the tiebreaker, because it's gonna be very tight. They're going all out because they want to get those points, and they're gonna be coming extremely close to not getting the range of motion that they need to get. So,
Yes.
I think the only way you can really do that is either you need to go with a heavier weight that's not so easily moved.
Okay.
Um, I mean, honestly, or you go the other way and go with a lighter weight, and you're going for, like, I don't know, an unbroken set, who can like go to
Mhm.
see who stops moving, kind of thing. So you have
So
to kind of split. You got, but that's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of time involved in that too.
yeah, I have an idea. This is not fan friendly, because the tiebreaker is exciting to watch, depending on the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Oh, they're racing to the finish. That was really exciting. We saw the same thing on the sandbag, the bags over the yoke, and it was more of like, who's going to screw it up, not necessarily who's the best at carrying the sandbag.
Right.
For this event, what if prior to event number 1, they said your time for the stair climb is your tiebreaker for the hang clean?
I'd be down with that for sure.
But a little bit more, not that you need a little bit more.
I mean, I think you would have to know that. Hopefully, they would know that going
Right.
into it.
And that's why I preface this. If they told them prior to event number 1, okay, here's the event we're running, is like, yeah, it's amazing. By the way, hang clean event is number 2 starting tomorrow. and this will be the tiebreaker for the weight.
Yeah. I like that idea. I think that's cool. I have absolutely no problem with tying a previous event to a tiebreaker.
And not just a previous event, but a completely opposite side of the spectrum event too.
Yeah, totally.
Just to give people a little bit more, go get them.
So,
Now, if they did that, I don't know. Let me see. I'm curious about this. Close this out. Competition quarter, Burj Khalifa challenge. That might have been a bad call for Fabian, because I think he got 16. Maybe that would have boosted him up, right? So him and Fossa tied. Fossa beat him on the climb. He loses 5 points, possibly loses the Dubai CrossFit Championship.
Yeah.
Which makes it exciting.
Right.
We're just making shit up right now, guys. Making shit up.
It's just idea. I mean,
the test itself, you said you weren't in love with it.
I think a hang clean is just, it's like a weird partial move. It's like, all right, you're gonna have a 1 rep on a 1-legged lunge. It just, I don't know. It just seems like a weird move if to test strength. I don't know. If I'm not against a hang clean, but a 1 rep max hang clean just seems like CrossFit 2008.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I think that we can find a much better way. Yes, I know that we haven't seen a lot of those, but then like bump the numbers up a little bit so that it's actually okay. Well, let's see you do something with that weight. Not, is it some weird bounce that you're doing where it's, you know, not even a good technique movement or whatever. I mean, I like seeing the good athletes get out there and lift. Brian doesn't like that. I didn't say it was a good event. I just don't like the movement. I'm not saying it wasn't a good event. Like, it's cool to see heavy people lift heavy things. I get it. I think that a hang clean for a strength event is an odd strength event. I just think it's a weird strength event. That's all.
I didn't mind it. Just because
I would have done 3 reps on that. I would have done 3.
Okay.
Again, so like make it more of a thing rather than like a half movement. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So it's not the hang clean itself, just a one.
No, we just did a kick-ass hang clean workout today at the gym here. So it's like I don't disagree with the movement. I think that having that as a 1 rep max, that's your strength event. It's a very odd strength event. I think at a 1 rep, that's all. But Brian, I like the races. It's always fun to see people like lift heavy and get them shot on the back.
The PRs that were going down. I mean, like, who tests a 1 rep max hang clean anymore? Except when we had it. I think we had it. I want to say 2016. We did those off-season pair up, throw down things.
Oh yeah.
There was a hang clean or hang power clean 1 rep max test.
Yeah.
I almost broke both my wrists in the process, but I did hang power clean 315. So it was the time. All right. Event number 2 for day number 2 was get a grip. Now, it was originally written as 3 rounds for time, 40-30 cal row, 40 toes to bar, 40 snatches, 75 and 55. And then the second round is 20 snatches at 115 and 75. And then the third round was 10 snatches at 185 and 135. Now, we've all heard that there was a row delivery issue as far as that, and they gave them ski ergs instead. So they changed it to ski ergs, the cals being 30 and 22. Now, this event is called Get a Grip, which is a good name for it before the ski ergs come. And then when the ski ergs came, you're like, okay, now it's perfectly named.
Right.
That being said, when you look at the difference between the 2 events, the ski erg makes the event different, but I don't think at any point in time it made the event worse.
No.
I really, really liked the combination of movement patterns, right? You got that redundancy of the first 2 movements with the ski erg and toes to bar. The ski erg is basically the same movement pattern and muscle groups as you need for toes to bar. So not only do you need to have like stamina and endurance for both the monostructural and the gymnastics elements, then you pull in a snatch on the floor, which is the opposite movement pattern from ground to overhead versus overhead down to a hang position.
Yeah, it just changed the different position of where that back emphasis was going to be. So whether you're going ski to toes to bar, there's the emphasis. If the rower was there, it would have been the row to the snatch. Because if you have that row, and then I mean, like how many straight-legged muscle snatches did you see in the first round of 40?
Right. Yeah.
Like a ton. If you would have had the row in there, okay, I think that would have changed what people were doing with the snatch a little bit.
Mhm.
Because they wanted to save the back, but since they flipped it and had the ski erg in there, I think that definitely changed where that emphasis was going to go. So, I do the 3 pieces, so
Mhm.
cool. I love this event. It was awesome.
One thing I had a reserved feeling on was the last 10 snatch weights, right? We went 75, added 40 pounds to 115, cut the reps in half from 40 to 20, and then went up 70 pounds from 115 to 185. On the women, it's 55 to 75, and then 75 to 135. And that's a huge jump
Yeah.
under fatigue. But after watching it, I was like, okay. It wasn't like, oh, why did you do that? Are you not paying attention? I feel like it was a very deliberate choice at the rep scheme at the end of the event. And once I watched it play out, just letting kind of the event dictate itself, I really liked that twist. That it's one of those weird things that people don't train for, possibly.
I can see that. I can see that. I mean, if I was probably writing this
Mhm.
myself, I think the 20 snatches I would have had 135.95.
In the 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I think the 40 snatches super light, cut it in half, you'd
Mhm.
almost double the weight almost,
Right.
and then cut it in half again.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, so I mean, but I like that the lightweight forced the envelope. It forced the envelope a lot harder. So the
Mhm.
intensity level was up. So
Mhm.
when you got, I mean, like, dude, 185 and 135 should be zero issue
Right.
for all of these athletes, and it was an issue
So
for all of these athletes except for Karen Frey. She was the only one that was like, I'm going to go ahead and take all the 10 of
that
these and
that
smash
girl is
it.
operating on a different level the entire
Dude,
weekend.
she looks great. She looked great. But
Yeah.
I think that was this idea, honestly, this idea of how the lighter weight forced the issue at the top is almost what I was talking about when we were talking about the Burj Khalifa, is if you don't put the vest on these guys, they're going to go faster, which is going to make them really, the last third is now going to be really important because you pushed way harder than you would normally. It's like
Yeah.
these guys touching 75 pounds. When do they ever touch a 75-pound or a 50-pound snatch?
Yeah,
Ever.
not since Randy in what, 2015 or so?
Yeah, that's a single arm dumbbell for these guys.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
but it is really. I liked it. I liked the setup, and I love the fact that they were struggling with the 185, 135.
Mhm.
I loved it.
What do you about, the Fikowski split snatch? I was not
Uh,
prepared to see that.
I am all for that movement. I understand why someone would do the movement. It usually, like for people that I've seen do it, it's usually if there's a shoulder issue. They can't get
Mhm.
the arm back very far. So now if you're straight up into that lunge position, you don't have to have that arm travel back. So that's why guys like in the old days, that's why Josh Everett would do that because he didn't have the shoulder range of motion to
Yeah.
get into a heavy snatch. But like, I don't think that he needed to lunge so dang low either. Like,
I mean, maybe he did, and he didn't wanna squat it, like
man, it was funny. I saw Brian. He made fun of Jamie Simmons. Oh man, she's struggling. She's starfishing. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the starfish. What are you talking about? I would be starfishing that also, you know? So again, you're splitting your feet wide. So you don't have to squat down as deep, but the idea with any split, whether you're going regular or wide or whatever, is trying to decrease the angle of
Mhm.
that at the knees, so you're not squatting down so deep. Like Brent was so
Yeah,
low
he was
in that
still
lunge.
almost breaking parallel in the
I
you're right.
know, with a single leg.
I
I'm like,
know,
I
it's
don't think
funny.
that that's making it easy for you, man. But he has no problem stepping outside the box. I'm like, well, I'm going. Here's my plan. I'm going for it. So,
Yeah.
whatever. It was only 10 reps. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun to see. it was unique to throw that out there. But I was like,
Totally.
oh wow, we're doing this. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you ever tried it?
I have. Yeah,
What do you
it's
think?
I feel uncoordinated.
It's something you got to practice for sure.
It's definitely
100%.
something I had to practice. I'm like, which one do I go for? Because I'm used to split jerking. Like I enjoy that, but it is tricky because the timing of finishing my pull, pushing through the balls of my feet, and then moving. I mean, it's the same movement pattern, right? Once you get the bar above the knees, whether you're going shoulder overhead or hang split snatch, but yeah, it tricks me up a bit.
Well, yeah, because just kind of everything's floating. You're in the air, the bar's floating in the air from the ground. It's like, whoa, hope we're gonna land somewhere, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Yeah,
I
I was shocked he pulled that out. That was interesting.
well, he had posted on his Instagram about it. Let's see if I pull
I'm
this up.
sure he got hit up a ton about that. I mean, that was half the
Yeah,
conversation about it.
and
Yeah.
so yeah, he put it out there. He says,
Did he say, "Here's a good one that I did"? Because that look
well,
how
yeah, this is the one I was
that's a
about to
normal
go with.
one. All the other ones, he was like his back knee was touching the ground almost.
Yeah, he said the workout ended with 10 snatches at 85 kilos, 187, using a stubby barbell. That was the other thing too, right? You're saying getting in a better position, and that was it
Okay.
was one of those things I didn't really hear. I didn't even talk about it on Savant's podcast, but didn't hear is that Fikowski's got a wingspan of an albatross.
Right.
And with the stubby barbells, it makes it much difficult because Brent. If you've ever watched Brent snatch a regular barbell, is that dude basically goes collar to
Collar to collar. Yeah.
right? Which helps with the range of motion where that bar sits on your positioning and your second pull and all that stuff. The stubby barbells do not allow for that to happen. And it also makes, as you said, your overhead position a little tougher. So, with that being said, to the stubby barbells, he says, my coach and I decided that split snatch was the best plan to finish faster. 9 inches shorter from collar to collar on the stubby bars means I've got to get a bit creative. Shout out to Camille LeBlanc Bazinet for the idea I've been waiting to use since I watched her crush the 21-15-9 complex at the 2014
I remember
CrossFit
that.
Games.
That's where you had to alternate your legs.
Right.
That was so weird.
Yeah.
But
Or,
I didn't even think about the
complex.
short bars. That's a perfect
not
idea for the long guy.
Yeah, it was a complex,
idea.
not the track triplet.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So listen, that guy has had that pocketed since 2014. That's pretty wild.
Crazy.
Yeah, pretty wild. All right, for the get a grip itself, just overall feeling of the event.
I liked it. I really liked it.
Too. I did as well.
Yeah.
Okay, moving into event number 3, we finish off with ride or die. And let me get back over here. Now, ride or die was the knockout, basically, version that we have seen come into play more and more with events like this. That we've seen Wodapalooza try it. We've seen Rogue try it. We've seen the games try it or do it, right? Start it. And the other ones have been trying it. I think this is the first time where they successfully accomplished what they wanted to, because what they did, which I thought was great, was instead of doing all the women first or all the men first and waiting for the scores to come in and video review, is they designed the event so that you didn't need to do any equipment changes. It's just an echo bike and a rope. And they would do a women's heat and then a men's heat and offset those so that the downtime was very minimal, which I thank them for so much, because what we had to go through in October. So they had 20 athletes start. The men did 40 cals in the echo bike. The women did 30, straight into 4 or 3 legless rope climbs. The top 10 move on, and then they dropped the numbers 30 and 20 in the echo bike, 3 and 2 in the legless climbs, and then final 5, it was 20 and 10, and then 2 and 1 on the legless until your final 5 were found.
I like how simple the setup is.
Mm-hmm.
My only comment to this, and I love how they have to hammer on the bike, and then you go to a gymnastic movement that if you walk too cautiously to the red line, you're done. Like, it's over. you wait. You have no choice but to stand there and wait while everyone's working.
Mhm.
But I think that the opener, the semi, and the final are 3 different races.
Okay. Yes.
100%. Like, so you aren't advancing your best people necessarily. It's like you've advanced the ones that can kind of go, all right, I can kind
Oh,
of make my way through the longer I'm not going to go all out on the 40 calories and 30
okay.
calories. I have
Yeah.
to be enough because I have to get these legless rope counts. I can't not go fast, but I'm
Mhm.
not emptying the tank. Then the next one, the 30 and the 3 and 2, it's like, okay, I know how bad that felt. So did I choose my rope climb pace fast enough? Because I saw like Fikowski, I think he was last in his heat coming off the bike. And then he was second off the rope climbs.
Yeah, he
So
was very
there's a
meticulous about
pacing
his bike
element.
pacing.
And then all of a sudden the final was full bore, all go as
Mhm.
hard as you can on the bike, sprint to the rope, get up to the top and sprint to the end. It was like 3 different it was same basic
Yeah,
movements and all that kind of stuff, but it was like 3 different strategies for each one of those. Each one of those races had a different strategy, I think.
that's fair. Although I would say that
I like what it was. It was super
yeah,
fun to watch.
we would say that I mean, the same could be said on a clean speed ladder or a speed snatch ladder, right? The weights are light and then they get heavier. And so for different athletes will have different experiences in the first round than they do the second and the
No,
third.
that's totally true. That's totally true. I think that when we see those, we just think strength. It's like who's
Right.
stronger? They're going to make it through. Not like
Okay.
who's faster. I just saw this where it's like if you watch the pace, and even Matt said something about when Matt was on with the guys. He was watching the tempo of some of the different athletes, and he's like, "Oh, there's so and so," and I'm watching. I'm like, I don't think looks like he's pushing all that hard right now. And then the next round, you see him start to push a little harder.
Yeah, I
And then
felt
on the
later.
last round, so it's like there was a definite difference between. You don't see people go super slow in pacing on like the lightweight bars on a speed clean ladder. I
Mhm.
guess what I'm trying to say. It was just I could see it was obvious. I think on this didn't mean it was bad. Just something
Yeah,
that I
I'm just
noticed.
presenting there's differences from round to round in most knockout things we've seen, except for I guess Rogue was the same each time.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And that's
Rogue
maybe
was
that's one
exactly the same
difference
race.
between Rogues. Like Rogue in both the Duel 1 and Duel 2, it was the same race every time.
Right.
Right. And we saw that. Another example is the obstacle course at the CrossFit Games. But the flip side example is clean speed ladder, speed snatch ladder, the clean and jerk ladder. Like all of those had ascending weights. So similar format. It's not exactly the same thing as we go from one to the next. Just throwing
I'm
out
just
a
yeah,
conversation
just
piece.
talking. I love the race.
Yeah.
I loved watching it. I think the fact that they went or women to win, women and men back and forth to give the amount of time, to give the setup enough time, to give the athletes enough time to race appropriately.
Mhm.
I thought was cool. It was just really interesting watching the difference between the strategies of the different events.
Yeah.
When again, like if we're pushing it towards like the speed clean ladder, the strategy, it's really not a strategy there. It's like, well, I mean, if it's light, I can lift it fast. Okay, cool. When it's heavy, it's just like, oh, please, am I going to get this weight? Like it's not a
Right.
strategy of, what's my strategy? It's like, am I going to get it or not? Can I
Mhm.
lift this weight or not? I don't know. So, but I thought it was cool. I liked the setup. I thought it was really, it was another very simple but
Right.
very effective race,
Mhm.
of which there were really good races
And
in the men
so
and the women's side.
so we look at day 2 and what transpired, and it's okay. We started the hang squat clean. So, hinging, pull into a squat for the hang squat cleans. Event number 2, upper body pull and interior core hinge on the ski erg. Same thing on the toes to bar, the opposite of that hip hinge pull overhead with the snatch. So like that there was a lot of redundancy in there, and that's not a bad thing, right?
Right.
We say like JT is an incredible redundancy test movement. And in fact, that's way more redundant than this one was. It had, a good mix of the two. We had monostructural weight gymnastics. Great. We've got a triplet, two opposing or conflicting movement patterns that go into the opposing one. On the bike, we've got the assault or the echo bike, and then upper body gymnastics pull with the legless rope climb. So we've, in total, the 3 events, we've hit quite a bit of the upper body area in terms of pulling and hinging. As we move into the 3rd and final day of competition, we start with, oh, by the way, shout out to Brian for the event title, Ride or Die.
Oh, nice job, dude.
Yeah, he picked a couple of these. He picked a couple of these. As we look at the interval event that we had, Fast Like an Oryx, which is an interesting title, but this thing's, it's like a long antlered tall gazelle like creature. And with this one, okay, 2:30 on, 1 minute off of 4 sets. Everything starts with a 10 shuttle runs down and back, 10 burpee box clear overs at 24 and 20, and then max thrusters. The first set of thrusters up until 40 was at 70 pounds for the men with dumbbells and 50 for the women. If they got through that, and then they could drop down to 50 and 35. Didn't mean to take that off. These events are so hard to get right with the time frames, with the numbers, with everything. So hard. And after watching it, because I really was unsure, because I was trying to think in my head, I was like, these guys are going to have like 30 or 45 seconds max to get these done outside, say maybe the first round when they're fresh and they're excited and they hit those dumbbells for the first time. Like, oh shit.
Right.
I think there was a few women that got into the lighter dumbbells for the last round. A couple had finished but didn't get to one yet. And I think, you know, your top 10 men, maybe 10 to 15, got done with their weight, dipped into the lighter weight at the end of the 3rd round, where they all had a shot at the 4th. And if you're thinking about that as your guide, I think he nailed it as far as the weight and the reps for the dumbbells.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's maybe they're like fighting their ass off to get done in the 3rd round. That's what you want to see. You don't want to see anybody done in the 2nd.
Right.
They pay for it dearly, right? It's like, okay, you did it, but now you will suffer the consequences. And on the flip side, you don't want anyone, I mean, you want, like, if some people don't make it, fine, right? It's a test of fitness. It's not a participation competition. But to get maybe more than half of your field or close to into the later rounds, you know, that 3rd or 4th round for sure is I think would be the goal. Like where do you see that kind of falling between the 3rd and 4th round when you want people to hit that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think that takes a lot of testing to see where people are going to fall. I mean, like when Dave did that for the games, the what was that? The GHD.
Oh, the GHD,
wall ball one,
burpee, sandbag over the wall.
Yeah. I mean,
sometimes it doesn't work out.
It doesn't work out. But that's the thing is, like, okay, when you're testing, you have to make sure that you have people that can test it or at that caliber, you know, so that they can run that, so you know actually where you're going. I love the fact that they went the heavy weights and then down to the lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't allow them. They can still be in the hunt. Like it allows the intensity to stay up once they hit that threshold of 40, if they're able, you know, if they're able to get there. I just hate shuttle runs. Dude, I don't know what the heck happened. It's like we have one. We have
you have been consistent with that since they came out, and I'll give you that. Right, ever since it first got unveiled, you have been saying the same thing.
It's like, okay, I get it. I know that we can do now we can put running in the workouts. Cool, awesome. Mm-hmm. Now every single event has done a shuttle run. Every single one has done a shuttle run, and it's like I would rather have them. I don't know. I think Brian said that it was like 600 feet is what it ended up being. So it's okay. 200-meter run. Have them run the length of the circle of the thing and then come back to their. I don't know. I just think that it's so boring to watch people like.
I mean, they had the space.
Trot. Yeah, totally.
Actually, not a terrible idea.
I don't know. That's personal opinion. I just think that it's silly watching people run back and forth like 10-foot segments like that.
I mean, if you're throwing that out there, yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. The time frame's not going to be much different. 200-meter run.
No, not even
45, maybe less.
Yeah.
Less time, more intensity on the legs, I think.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the start, the stop, the little hop, the slow trot. Like the buy-in becomes a bit more significant. I like that. Anyway, I really like the descent from the 70s to the 50s. I was unsure how athletes were going to handle it. And as always, they never cease to surprise me or prove me, and not prove me wrong. I was just curious. I was like, man, that seems rough. And you saw them all out there and it's like, damn, you guys are monsters.
Dude, they are beasts. The way they just they move around, like I'm watching them do it, and it's like you can't just say, "Oh, that's 140 pounds," or 100 pounds, for the ladies on a thruster. It's like, like that is drastically single arm thrusters like that. Well, single arm weighted. There's so much more stability that goes into that. I mean, and that's where you saw like Con Portier. His elbow was already. I think it was on that one. I don't think it was on the double press, but he was already starting to struggle with his elbow.
Yeah, he heard
because of the positioning. Yeah, right. So I mean, like, there's a lot of variables that go into that rather than just a thruster. So I thought I really liked it, and I think that changed it rather than it being a barbell thruster for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean the stability element in general, like by itself, is huge. It's a huge part of the dumbbell thruster.
Yeah.
Now that makes for gross looking reps under fatigue, but that's a whole nother thing that we don't care about right now. But when you talk about the clean from event 2 and how does that, it was like, we talked about shoulder girdle and front rack. I was talking to JR Howell about this. It's like, okay, what did we do the day before? We did some heavy squat cleans. We did a lot of overhead pulling to the hang for both ski and the toes to bar, the ground overhead with the power snatches, the legless rope climbs under maximum intensity. And then we come into here with some burpees off the ground. Yes, it's only 10, but it's 40 for the workout. And the stability that you're going to need with that upper body rack, shoulder, girdle position. And then the presses overhead is that they handled it so well, even after the fatigue that they're coming in with from the day prior.
Right.
Which was, again, it's just another thing to just say how impressive they were during this. But that being said, I think timing wise, weight wise, rep scheme wise, they nailed it.
Yeah, it was great races. I mean, the races were good. It's where everybody was finishing up, where it was putting them. Yeah, it was.
And look how close it was. Like on the 63, 62, 62, 60, 56, 52, 50, 50, 50, 49, right? And so maybe, I put this out there is like you see some ties in here. We don't have a tiebreaker here, but we had a tiebreaker for the clean.
Well, I think that you're going to have more of a grouping on the cleans than you would on this.
Yeah, but we had more grouping on this than we did in the cleans.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The one thing I threw out there, again, this is always one of those incentives, right? Okay, so my tiebreaker idea for the hang clean was your time from the Burj Khalifa run. My tiebreaker here would have been your total time it took to get to your dumbbells for the workout.
Okay. I like the idea, but the logistics of that, no, it wouldn't happen.
Well, logistics aren't my problem. Do your fucking job.
Okay.
I know, but I'm saying, do your job. Hold a stopwatch in your hand and write it on the piece of paper. I don't think there's that much logistics to it.
You've got
3, 2, 1, go.
my friend.
When did your feet hit the ground? Done. There's your stopwatch.
I'm busy counting and trying to look for good reps. I need to
person.
make sure that
they only had 10 judges total, is what Matt said out there. So maybe it was a little bit more than what they had. But I'm just, this is a what if would have been nice scenario. Okay. Not they should have done this, but well, I guess I'm saying they should have done this. But is the tiebreaker, because we had a lot of ties, is I think your total time it took to get the buy-in work done. Just to make people want to do something stupid, just in case they're not paying attention.
I would have said your time to get to
Ooh.
40 of the thrusters.
Okay, that was just came in my brain as you were saying that.
No extra stopwatches. It's already there. You
Or
already
you
got
want to
that.
hear the shittier one? How many reps you got in your first
In the
round?
first set, yeah.
Then it's the workout. We don't have to do anything. Then it's easy. Your judge already counted for you.
Yep.
So your tiebreaker is your total reps in the first round. I'm just thinking of ways to just really screw you up. Now, arguably, there could be more ties in the first round, but at least it would have been exciting to see.
True.
Anyway. No, they did a great job. The way they tested this, it nailed it. As JR said, is the attention to detail that went off, and I heard Matt on the broadcast saying he was most nervous about this to get it right, and it goes to how hard it is to get it right.
Well, and that's the thing is like there's so many events that you can draw up that look great on paper that just fall flat on its face if it's not tested right with the right people.
Yeah.
It could be great for games athletes if you're putting in a local competition, then it fails miserably. Or it could be a really great open workout, but you put it in the games and it's just too easy for everybody.
Now, I know we talked about the GHD one from the games with Dave in 2021.
Yeah.
They tested that so much.
Yeah.
Like ad nauseum, and they still didn't get it right. Because these athletes are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Can't
ridiculous.
just have good athletes testing those. You have to have the best. So
yeah, Matt and his crew are pretty good. Okay, event 2 for day number 3 called Heavy Handed. Now, what this was 75 heavy double unders, a 90-foot sandbag carry at 200 pounds and 150. I know it says 100 here. 50 chest to bar pull-ups, 90-foot sandbag carry. Basically, it was 3 30-foot lengths is how they did it. In a bear hug carry position, which, that is a
awesome
piece of that, into 75 heavy double unders. Now, if we just isolate this event by itself before we expand maybe on what we've had to this point, this was really gnarly.
Yeah.
Like it was a cool up and back sprint-esque chipper. You start with the heavy ropes, like, okay, we're going to spike your heart rate and tax your grip and your upper body. Cool. Now pick up this heavy ass bag and carry it in a bear hug carry with most of you couldn't really wrap your fingers. So you were just upper body, shoulder grabbing on for dear life while the bag sits on your chest. Cause now you can't breathe. Your arms are going to shot and your heart rate is elevating significantly. And then throwing on the rig for 50 chest to bar pull-ups. And then once you're done,
it was by far the hardest 50 chest to bar pull-ups I've ever seen these athletes do before. You have badasses that are like breaking it where they would never be breaking before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yes, they were fatigued, but they felt how shitty it was to pick up that bag on the first set and depending how long their arms were. This was it was really weird when you have a movement with chest to bar pull-ups in it where your long-limbed athlete now has the advantage because that's not enough reps for people to really have a huge passing, but they feel the struggle. But it's like, now how do you carry that bag?
Yeah.
Can you get your hands locked, or are you having to hold on to it with your fingertips? Because that's just not going to work.
And some people just couldn't do it.
Yeah. I mean, you just physically could not get their arms around it.
Which is great.
That's okay.
If you are a taller or just a long-limbed individual, usually those people are taller, bigger athletes. Your advantage you have there is a slight disadvantage, right? The slight advantage or disadvantage is offset on the pull-up bar traditionally.
Yeah.
If you're bigger, you're usually heavier. If you're heavier, you've got longer arms. So okay, the sandbag was great, but now these pull-ups are not as great. Yeah. And the opposite goes for the person that maybe have a shorter, smaller person, less grip around the bag, but you get on the pull-up bar and it's like boop, 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 boop. So there's a decent balance in there. And then the double unders are the double unders, right? It's heavy. It's hard to get through it. I like what JR had here is on a day where pressing was dense. It's a good change of pace with the pulling and grip limiter. And what did we just do? We just did 40 burpees at max intensity, 60 plus dumbbell thrusters, 40 of those being at an extremely heavy weight. We have handstand walks coming, and we have the devil's press and the ring muscle ups later. So yeah, good change of pace for the day. More upper body for the competition.
Well, they're all jacked. They got nice big arms. They're fine.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm speaking for myself. My baby arms. All in all, this is a cool one.
I liked it, yeah, and I like it, like what JR was saying. I like that this is a flip flop to what the event before this was. So, it's cool. It's again, you can see that they are being very aware of where they're putting things in. There's not just redundancy, back to back to back to back to back.
Yes.
There may be redundancy of movements, but like there's a split between them. And I like to see that that is there,
I like
again,
that you brought that up because that is an element not talked about a lot with programming for events specifically. But it's funny because it's the same thing that should be happening in the week at your affiliate.
right.
Like you can have all these events and they're all great, but if you put them in the wrong order, you can screw up. It's like, well, what does that change? It's the same movements, weights, rep schemes, and everything. But it's like, yeah, but it's a lot different than saying going, if we did get a grip and then did this as event 2, and then the echo bike
Right.
rope climb on the final day of competition, along with the final event. Like, could you imagine if all 4 of those were put together? Like, that's what we're saying is like being able to put things in the right place is a good sign of a good programmer.
Well, and yeah, in programming isn't just the individual events, it's how you put all those together. That's part of the program. That's that's just as important as the event that you're putting together.
Gigi said, like, super fun to watch. I agree it was fun to watch because it was really the only event we got a lot of movement to know where people were at.
Yeah.
We didn't get a whole bunch of that this weekend, which is, it's hard to do depending on the competition's limitations itself, right? Selfishly, we want to see the story unfold where you can just tune in and know exactly who's in the lead and who's not. As far as the rig shaking part, as awesome it was as a fan, that fucking sucks when you're actually doing the competition. There's nothing worse than going up for a chest to bar pull-up and the rig
you miss it. You miss it. Real fast, Gigi asked if I have no problem with the sandbag carry visually because I know that like they're working. So visually, I can see that they're working, and I know that when you have a sandbag, especially a bigger one like that, you cannot breathe. That thing is right on your diaphragm. So to me, I can see they're working. When I'm seeing shuttle runs, when people are like shuffling back and forth, it's just boring to me. I don't know. It's not bad. Whatever.
All right. Next event on the final day of competition, 2 down, 2 to go. That was Heavy Handed, which was a great name for the event, by the way. They had the good names.
Did Brian do that one?
I don't know. Maybe. I think so. We'll see. Barbell Furious. Now, we talked about Dubai doing very Dubai things. Now, Brian had said the fitness champion team programmed event number 1 and the final event. Obviously, event number 1, pretty clear. Final event, we'll get to here in a second. Now, this one, they didn't. Matt did. However, this is a very Dubai-esque event. There tends to always be some type of barbell chipper. It might be mixed with something else time to time, but this was one we saw. They used snatches one year. I think it was 7s. It's like power snatch, hang, squat snatch, and then squat snatch or something like that.
Yeah.
7 at like 165. So total trap weight sprint. The event daughter was very close to this, right? Now that mixed with like chest to bar and bar muscle ups, but it was clean. It was like cleans and front squats and shoulder overhead, right? Very similar. So this is not unlike anything we've really seen at Dubai with I would say, Mat Fraser twist, because this complex is very reminiscent of Macho Man.
Totally.
Which is 3 power cleans, 3 front squats, 3 shouldered overhead on the minute every minute, really until you can till you quit.
Right.
And when Matt was ascending to his dominance, the word got around that Mat Fraser did Macho Man for like 20 rounds at like 205 or something like that. And then just decided to stop.
I think there was a video out when he was with the comp train group, and it was him and Noah. Katrin was in there. I think Easy Muhammad was in that group, and they were all getting after that. And that is I love that event. I love that workout. So when I saw this, I was all fired up to watch them go for this one.
Yeah.
I really liked what this was.
Brian said the DFC did provide parameters for the work between events 2 and 7. Makes sense. So you can see that. You can see that. I mean, with the event we just talked about, the little sprint chipper, this one, the interval one, they've had ones like that, especially like they like to do bikes and burpee box jump overs and sprints. Equipment time domain stimulus, what they're looking for were some of the parameters that HWPO had to work with, which, that, like we said, is like when I see this programming, I see a Dubai competition. So this in particular, 10 cleans, 10 front squats, 10 shoulder overhead. You can power clean if you would like to. 100 kilos, 70, it's 220 and 154 for the women. This did not disappoint.
So good.
And as anybody would predict, well, no, I don't want to say anybody, but if you know your stuff, right? If you've watched these things in the past, it's the last 10. Really doesn't matter what the movement is. But usually the first 2 are designed to screw up the third. And when the third is a shoulder to overhead after the power cleans, the front squat's like, okay, rack position, fatigued, legs, core, fatigue, good. You're going to need all of that to get one of these, let alone 10. Short bar that has no whip basically feels 20 or 30 pounds heavier in the rack position because that bar is not going anywhere but just crashing down on top of you.
Yeah, and it immediately cuts the group into thirds. It's like, okay, the strong athletes that are able to get to the bar, they can handle it and go unbroken. Cool. Then you have the ones that roll the dice. And you see them get to like 7 and they're like, they do the quiver. And it comes down and you're like, well, now I'm sitting here for 30 seconds because I'm too tired to get the bar up. Or the ones that are like, there's no way I'm going to try and do that unbroken. So I'm going to strategically try to break these. And I mean, it like instantly everybody goes into a group. Which one are you going to be? And it was, I mean, it's always fun to watch who's going to push to get into the last segment here, the shoulder to overhead. And then like, I love it when people roll the dice. I love it when they're like, okay, I can get to 8. And then you see them, they're just quivering all over the place. And it's like, oh man, how the hell am I supposed to get this up overhead? When you're right, you just shot your legs out. Front rack is just smashed. You can't breathe anymore. But it again, very simple setup with a very obvious stimulus and a fast rate. It's quick to get to the race. It's quick to get to where it's like, okay, now it gets exciting. It's not exciting on the clean, so you're like, whatever. Front squats, you're like, okay, that's like the build up, and then it's all the shoulder to overhead, and it's 10 reps, and there's so many good races in that 10 reps.
Yeah, and it really was. But you have to have all your ducks in a row, those last 5 shoulder.
Oh, hell yes, totally.
You got to be strong. You have to be mobile. You have to have your technique dialed the F in because, again, we want to backtrack. What have we done until this point? This is event 7 of 8. Getting late on a Sunday, probably a little fatigued. Just today alone, what did we just do? Heavy double unders, 150 of them. Grip, forearms, shoulders. Sandbag carry, 180 feet with a 200 or 150 pound bag in a bear hug position. Grip, forearms, shoulders. Then we had those 50 chest bar pull-ups in the middle. Great. Grip, arm pull, arm pump. We did the dumbbells prior to that too. Burpees, dumbbell thrusters. So you have been fatigued greatly going into here, especially in that front rack pressing position. Your grip is smoked. It's going to get more taxed as you sit and do power cleans. If you decide to go touch and go or singles, your grip gets taxed immensely on front squats. I think it's one of those things that people maybe don't think about, especially if they don't have the best rack position. But your fingers getting pulled back and the tension on your forearms is a huge fatiguer. And now I've got to go overhead 10 times after all that.
Yeah.
So it was a good test with what they went through to really see who's fit, who's strong, who has some stamina, but who can ride that line, as you said, and keep their composure, technique really being their savior at the end.
Well, and then I think that the weight that they picked was I mean, they hit it. They hit the nail on the head on that one. It didn't have to be like 275. It didn't have to be that heavy, but then it wasn't so light that everybody's in the mix. It was just enough to force a risk.
Mhm.
And were you willing to try to risk to get into the top 5? Or were you gonna try and like, "Okay, I'm not even gonna go for that. I'm not gonna take that chance, and I'm shooting for, 9th to 5th in the middle
Mhm.
there, or like with that 1 break,
Yeah, like,
and
don't
1 break."
screw up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too as an athlete. It's like, okay, I need to take a chance, but I cannot do something I'm not capable of.
Yeah. Because if you take a swing for the fence and strike out, like, this could be an event that you could be an athlete that could place 3rd and 4th, and you end up 15th.
Right, top 5, bottom 5.
Yeah.
Easily. Easily.
It's crazy, which I love that it puts there's a lot of pressure. So,
Mhm.
and actually, a lot of these events have that, where it's what how much are you willing to risk? Because if you risk
Yeah,
one
that's a good
one
point.
little item too much, then it becomes a very expensive rep, a very expensive
Yeah,
rep.
I mean, think okay, Burj Khalifa run.
Yep.
You don't even know what you're doing. You come out too hot in the first 3 flights of stairs, it's over.
Yeah.
There's no recovering. The let's see. Oh, screwing up your pace on Get a Grip. Screwing up your pace on the Echo Bike. Jumping up too soon on a legless rope climb.
Yeah.
Doing too many dumbbell thrusters in the first set, or going out too hard on the burpee. Like, you're right. There are elements in here that we saw come up in the games a little bit that we saw with Boz, is execution being an element that is tested, not only tested, but very prevalent.
Yeah.
That's a good pickup. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Chest to bar pull-ups. I mean, oh, it's great. I did 30. It's like, cool. And then what'd you do at the end? It's like, well, then I did 5 and then
And
lots
then
of
I did
twos.
right.
It's like, okay, so we broke 12 times. Maybe we should have picked a rep scheme where we only broke 4.
Right.
The
Now you
game.
can't pick the bag up.
I like that. Yeah, execution. All right, final event number 8, walking with the devil. I believe this is a Brian one too, which
Nice
is
job, Brian.
just great. Just a great name. Great job. 11-minute time cap, handstand walk. It was 90 feet or so. It didn't have to be unbroken. So 90-foot handstand walk, 20 ring muscle ups for both the men and the women, 30 devil press, 50 and 35 into a dumbbell overhead walking lunge to the finish. 90 feet on the front end, 90 feet on the back end. Isolating this by itself, like we said, this is a very Dubai final, and they programmed it, so clearly it is a very Dubai final. You got handstand walking mixed with ring muscle ups. We've seen that a lot over the years in Dubai. Devil presses, here we are again, and then an overhead walking lunge to the finish, which really, it's really hard to beat a finale when it all comes down to overhead walking lunge, and we did not get disappointed for the men's side, especially when it came down to the end. But by itself, okay, handstand walk, inverted, 20 ring muscle ups. Now, I was looking at the times as this was going on, and really for the men, the women were a little bit all over the place with their proficiency on the rings, but most were getting done with the first half of this event in about 2 minutes,
Yeah.
2 to 30. And the back half was about double that time frame. Not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying what it was, right? The back half took much more time to accomplish the work than the front half. Obviously, you have 10 more reps on the devil presses in a movement that takes twice to 2.5 times as long per rep than the ring muscle up. But you have the walking lunge offset with the dumbbell overhead walking lunge. Did I say overhead? What did I just say? Handstand walk, walking lunge. Did I say that? What just came out of my mouth?
I don't know.
Anyway, your thoughts on the final event?
I think that it was a win to have the lunge at the end. I mean, that slow march to the finish, it just has a natural buildup to it anyway. So I think that was really cool. I actually like the way that it was set up, because if you look at the handstand walk and the amount of time it would take, the ring muscle up comes, I think, at least loosely on paper, I don't want to say doubles that, but it's a little bit longer than that. Then you have the longer devil press, and then you have the longer overhead. So there's like this, it kind of stretches as it gets to the end. So it does start off faster in the beginning, which I think is a good thing, and I like that it does. What's Brian saying about the?
I was originally
Oh
programmed with a
shit!
yoke.
I like.
I like it's heavy.
I like the overhead walking lunge.
I think
I
the
actually
overhead
really
lunge
do.
is a great win.
And what made the lunge better than a yoke, I think, is that you saw epic fails with the lunge. You saw the arms that had to be supported up overhead. In fact, that was Brent. Brent, like his arm just I mean, literally caved to the back. And you know, on a yoke, yes, it's heavy, and yes, the number is impressive. And I mean, I get that with the midline stability and all that, but people just come down like this, bonk, and they bring it down, they start back up again. It is, I don't think it's as dramatic as you would see with the lunge. But I liked the last event. I thought it was super fun. I thought the ring muscle ups, it didn't need to be more. It wasn't a ring muscle up test. I didn't see it as that.
Yes.
I like the 30 devil press.
Okay.
Again, it wasn't too big of a number that they were having to kind of slog through it. Even though some of the athletes, man, they come down so different than I do. I cannot just go from a dumbbell to the top to straight down to the ground with their hands still on the dumbbells bouncing. I don't know how they would do that, but I really liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah. When I'm looking at this alone, I love all the interference going into the final lunge.
Totally.
It's like a giant setup.
100%. You see all these things, and it doesn't need. It just as matters like how you pace that is all it means. It's like 3 movements of buy-in, and now your race is the overhead walking lunge.
Yeah. When it came to the end, the ring muscle-ups were fine. I like the number better for the men just because it made it a little bit faster. With a 20 for the women, that was a huge part of the success in that event for them.
True. I agree with that.
Might have been not necessarily the opposite for the men, but women cycle 35-pound dumbbells and devil presses way easier than men, just like a 150-pound bag versus 100 when it comes to a sandbag. So the offset is the devil presses were more difficult for the men to do at 50 pounds. As far as maybe like race, I wanted to see 20 devil presses because it was more like watching a torque tank race.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, hey, no one's really going to fail. Someone could screw up by going out too hard. But, I mean, you watch Brent Fikowski and Fabian Benito, who were tied going into this event, and all they did was just go rep for rep, very slowly, casually, for 30 reps.
Yeah, there was a lot of stepping.
Yeah. And so maybe a little less could encourage people to go a little quicker.
Okay.
Ramp up the race a little bit more. But, again, this is a little nitpicky there. But it would, like I said, the first part took 2 minutes. The next part took 5 to 6.
Right.
Not a bad thing, just an observation. But all that going into, inverted overhead walking, core, fatigue, handstand walks, going to the ring muscle ups. You still have the core that you need to have that quick snap of the hips and that anterior dive over the top and that press out of the dip, right? Ring muscle ups being much more of an upper body press than an upper body pull. And then you have the devil presses, which is almost the opposite difficulty in a sense, right? There is a little press out, but it's a big pull through the middle, right? So it's opposing movement patterns, but huge on the posterior core, huge on the anterior. Like your whole midline is really what takes the brunt. But we've done all of this overhead work to get to the end. It's like, yeah, I like that. Cool. Fatigue it to the end and see who can hold on. But in the previous event, we just went overhead a lot in the front rack position in a squat and the power cleans. In the previous event, we just did heavy dumbbell, had double unders. We did a bag carry. We did chest to bar pull-ups and work our way back. In the previous event, we just did thrusters in the rack position with dumbbells.
Right.
In a rack position going overhead. The previous to that, we did upper body pulling with the legless rope climbs. We did upper body pulling and with the ski erg and the toes to bar and the snatches overhead. And then in the hang clean, not as much. Was that it on day 2? Those 3? Or that was just those 3, right? So we have tested the upper body significantly.
A lot.
a lot. Again, observation, but when you look at the totality, it's like, okay, how many times did we? But okay, so flip side. Okay, let's go. Okay, upper body pull. What's the opposite? Okay, let's see below parallel. Well, we just ran 160 flights of stairs with a vest on. Lower body has been taxed, lungs especially. Right? We had the echo bike cows. Okay, we had the squat cleans. Well, they didn't have to squat, but they eventually all had to squat.
Right.
Except for the tiebreaker. Minimal, right? 10 to 15 reps at the most, with lots of rest in between. The next day, 60 dumbbell thrusters at a heavier weight at this with breaks. So 10 front squats. Doesn't offset as much, right? What we did getting below parallel. Pulling from the floor, snatches on all three. Pulling from the floor, dumbbell press or devil presses. Think front rack position work, bear hug carry, the hang cleans, dumbbell thrusters, right? Devil presses in a sense. So there's a bit more upper body. And Brian just put this, he had this up here and I was just saving it for the end form. He's like, the final event couldn't have worked out anywhere. You're right.
Right.
It was perfect. It was, now with the yoke carry, even if they didn't put the yoke carry instead of the dumbbell lunge, it wasn't enough to offset all the upper body that we did. In fact, the yoke carry, yes, it's a midline tax and it's some legs, but to have a 650-pound yoke on your back, it requires a lot of upper body, front rack, shoulder stability. Hands like a quarterback today? No. Are my hands too much? Does it even look like my hands when they're this close? Like there's somebody underneath my arms and is like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. There's a real side. There's not a coffee mug on my table. I already did that once. All right. We come to the end of the Dubai Fitness Championship, 8 events over the course of 3 days. We started at the Burj Khalifa. We ended with the walking lunge to the finish line and event number 8. Bill, your Element 26 thumb tape review, sir.
I love that they were able to bring the Burj Khalifa into the fray. I thought that was super cool. I like the way that they finished and made the adjustment with the lunges instead of the yoke for the finish. I think that would have made it was a more exciting finish than it would have been with the yoke. I think that would have been kind of a boring finish. Individually, I really do like the events. I thought the hang clean was a little weird to pick as a single 1 rep max strength event, but generally speaking, I think that they were a lot of very fun races to be had. The blending, it's always tough to blend 2 different programmers, and if you have the DFC programming 1 in 8, and then you have Matt and company programming the middle, and they're giving you parameters of what they want you to work in. Like the more parameters you have on yourself as a programmer, the more difficult it gets to be able to try to, because I at least with myself, especially if I'm doing an event or I'm doing a week of programming at the gym or whatever, there's a thread that runs through that. And when you don't have a full thread, it's hard to keep that flow, I think, to where you can play off of each other and move things around or whatever. I do like that for the most part, pushing and pulling went back and forth. I think that they missed the squat part of it. Like I know they ran up a bunch of stairs. I know they were on a bike, but like they really didn't go below parallel. I mean, okay, thruster is okay, but like for these guys, you expect to see something a little bit more than what they had. So I think that they missed that. But overall, I think that the athletes got a nice test, an enjoyable competition. I don't think that anyone was leaving from this just crushed to where, they're going to have to take a month off or anything like that. It was, I've seen some of the programming that Matt has done at different events. I would say that this is one of the better ones that I think that he's done. I've seen some wins and some losses, honestly, some of the different events that he's done. So for me, I think my score in this would be a single thumb. A single thumb.
Okay.
I mean, there's some pieces that were missing. I would have liked to have seen a lot more squatting, but I think for what the event was trying to do and trying to take care of, I think that it did a decent job of that. And the events were pretty fun just in general.
They were. A lot of times like, hey, I like this event.
Right.
The way they put it together. I mean, that was the theme of the 2022, I feel like, season.
Yeah.
When I look at it too, is like, I mean, we've gone through the movement pattern thing. When I agree with the squats, or at least getting below parallel a bit more. It's not like we didn't do any legs. Like I said, the run, the bike, the lunge, that all came into play a bit. The carries a little bit. You put that in there, but I always try to think. I was like, okay, where would I put them? I couldn't really find anything there too much. And it's like, okay, maybe we throw out the devil presses and do like a wall ball shots or something like that, right? The presses took 3.5 minutes. Make it 100. Right? Can anybody do it unbroken or whatever? Just throwing something out there. So there's that in there. But like you said, with the parameters that were set forth, is maybe was, hey, see these movement patterns in these events and how you put them together. That's part of what we want to bring to the table, the limitations, right? So like when we judged Madrid, which was really not great, they were fair. I mean, we've heard now to this point, but like they got like HWPO fairly handcuffed with being able to be creative there with timetables, time domains, equipment that they had access to. So here it seems like they have a bit more freedom, and it shows, right? You get a little bit more freedom, and you can do a lot more with it when given the chance. Imagine with all the freedom available to them without parameters maybe in the middle. And okay, you get your event one, you get your final event. This is what you want. This is your event. You're having us in, or you're paying us. We'll pretty much do whatever you want to a certain extent. The only thing, I was going to put this out there. The time domains, right? We went 30 plus to get things started early on. Then we went heavy. So, heavy lift, then the ride or die intervals, the 2.5 minutes, so like a 10-minute time frame. Heavy-handed chipper was like sub 5. The next event, which was the Barbell Furious, was 2 to 3 minutes. Walking with the Devil, 7 to 8. So we got a decent amount of things, still a little on the shorter side. I think we hit the, sorry, I just missed that. Clear this one. The get a grip hits that middle time frame, right? We got a few sprinty ones in there, some chippers, right? The heavy-handed was a sprint chipper. The Barbell Furious was a sprint chipper. The last event was another chipper, 7 to 8 minute time frame. So some of that there that we've seen redundant. Just giving examples. I still enjoyed the programming. I take all these individual events by themselves, and I really liked them. I think one I really want to try when my shoulder gets better is all of them.
Right.
Is all of them. But I like these all as individual. Again, like I said, piecing them all together in the bumpers of which you're given is a challenge. I still think the Burj Khalifa is the best event they have ever programmed for that event and what its purpose is behind. I'll give it a 1 point. I'm a little higher on it. I'm a 1.25. I was going between 0.2 and 0.3. 1.5. I like the programming. It's on the upper echelon of things that we've seen.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
And I like that it wasn't, they didn't try to do too much, get outside themselves. It looks like the athletes were tested appropriately. I mean, other than things outside the realm of programming, I feel like the people at the top were the ones there that performed the best. And it wasn't as like, oh, well, this suited you. Everyone got a little bit of theirs and some not of theirs, unless they were a fully rounded athlete. And they did well, like Karin Frey. I mean, she just absolutely crushed everybody.
Yeah, she looks so
awesome.
good.
Amazing races. I mean, damn, it all came down to the final event. I mean, that's it. That's good. So yeah, 1.25. I'll give it 1.25. Okay.
I like it. I like it.
All right, team. Thanks for joining us today for our Analyze Proing of the Dubai Fitness Championship. Coming up on Thursday. I have it blocked off. I'm currently in the process of moving. So that is part of our life. So things got a little crazy last week. That being said, we'll be getting back to our CrossFit Journal Book Club on Thursday, which it is the Odd Lifts. If you guys haven't seen that yet or got this. I will drop this in the YouTube chat right now. And our plan is sometime on Thursday, we'll go through this. And like we said, the ones that they come up with is like, when was the last time you saw this in your training?
Right.
Testing. Could we?
Maybe
next year, right? Those of you guys that didn't do your homework last year, as we told you during the CrossFit Games at nauseum, where did this come from? Oh, 2002, 2003 CrossFit Journal.
Maybe they're going in order.
Maybe we're going to look back to look forward. I don't know. All right, team. Thank you guys for joining us. See you on Thursday.
Bye, guys.